That's right. Now remember, boys and girls, if you see a worm, don't drink its juice unless you're thirsty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week with another TV review. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned with all the content that we do release on this channel each and every week in the world of TV and movies. My name is Cameron. If that guy can be a baron, then I can too. Kelly Smith, and I am joined by my esteemed colleague here.
Phil, Blue Eyes in the Worm, Corwin.
Oh, yeah. I know many things that can be done to that worm, according to Dune law, apparently. Anyway, we are here as, if you haven't guessed it by now, we're here to review none other than episode 4 of the HBO original Dune Prophecy. So let's hop right in. 4 episodes deep now. I feel like this episode, to me, felt like the episode where we were definitely coming into the we're moving now. We're moving, I felt like. I feel like we're definitely moving. I felt like this episode for me was my favorite so far. I thought that it was the most compelling so far. I felt like it had more meat on the bone, it was a good juicy little bone tomahawk. And that's what you need, especially thus far in a series that has been a little bit underwhelming, excuse me. It was nice to get a little bit more meat on the bone. Why did I think it had more meat on the bone? Well, because I think that there was more conflict. Thank goodness. There was more drama. There was a tiny bit more mystery, even though we'll get onto it. I still feel like there's elements of this show that is very much Dune light or Game of Thrones light or the interns of both. However, I was still grateful for a bit more conflict, bit more mystery, bit more drama, and we will get into why in just a moment. But quickly, your thoughts.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoyed this episode much more than the last one. Like the last one was the weakest one for me. Before the first one, this was closer to the first one, I think, where I'm like, okay, I really enjoyed that, and I'm intrigued how it continues. I want to follow these people again. And we might get into the specifics of why this might be, and what the problem of the previous one might have been compared to this one. But yeah, shall we get into specifics and what we liked, what we didn't like?
Yeah, I mean, let's get right. I mean, obviously, one of the biggest things with this episode is still kind of pushing on the mystery of, what is the threat that is coming against the Sisterhood? Who is Desmond Hart? What does he represent? How is this threat tied in? I thought that it was an interesting scene. We start this episode, with all the sisters waking up in their dreams, where yeah, exactly like that, and you obviously follow that up with Tula getting them to, basically take, I guess, a bit of spice and, draw basically what's in their dreams. I like the idea of how this mystery is unfolding. Do I believe that it still is a little bit weak? Yes, but I really hope that it pays off. I really hope, because I think if they, SHIT, crap the bed with the mystery and with the reveal, then I think that will hurt this show. My favorite part, really and truly, my favorite scene of this entire episode is when the other 2 leaders of the great houses turn up to, the Baron Harkonnen, and he's there with his own truthsayer and Valya. That was so funny. I actually started laughing. That was the first time I think I've laughed at all in this show. But that was cool. It was just funny. It just was a bit of necessary humor. I mean, the funny part is, the fact that, they asked him a question. He's like, sorry, one moment. And, he's, speaking to, Valya, and, this guy's such a doof, such a goof, but, it worked. But the mystery is interesting, but it was the conflict, the fact that, we lead to, this big scene, between all the great houses, in front of Emperor Corrino, and, everything meets the head, should we say. And it was, that was an interesting scene. Desmond Hart, I like the character, the acting. I gotta admit, I'm not too sure. Something's a bit off about it. Seems a little bit forced. But
okay,
go. What's on your mind?
Interesting. I really liked his speech during that scene, but maybe that's the part you found forced.
I think so.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
But I bought it actually, I think, but because he became a lot more interesting in that, I thought, because you can see like how mad he is about these machines and how much of he is almost like a fanatic, um, who hates machines and just wants to eradicate everyone who uses them, which is very much like Butlerian, I think. The whole group like who go against the machines and are still fighting them even after the war. So I'm kind of like, oh, okay, maybe he's one of them, or like, like getting more intrigued by who he is and what he is. And yeah, I thought he did a good job with that scene, and I liked like his outbursts, and then afterwards, like when the Emperor comes to him and he's like, curled up in the corner with his wounds, and it's like very quiet, and suddenly
Massage back a little bit.
well now, well, Rob. Um, I like that because he's suddenly very quiet.
Mm.
I think he pulls both sides, that very loud and the very quiet off as well. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Um,
Well, I mean, what did you like about the episode then?
so I loved the that scene. But this is what I want. Okay, this is what I want from a Dune. Which is I think what it's all about is the houses going against each other and like the scheming, the backstabbing, the using other people for your own gains, like the way that the houses are coming together and saying, who can we throw under the bus and like use to go against the emperor or start this inquest? And that's where they go to Harrow, right? And they're using Harrow's own what's the word?
Dumbness.
That too. Ambition. I was going for a nicer word. But dumbness, dummity. They're using his ambition against him because they're going, hey, you can make a name for yourself. You can come back into the good graces of the other houses. All you have to do is this very, very dangerous thing that could cost you your head, basically. So it's this I loved. I think, and just that, yeah, that scene you mentioned as well with Desmond, where that actually happens, and then the daughter, Corrino's daughter herself, like steps up and like basically accuses her father, and it's like, holy shit, it's all
That
happening, man.
bitch.
Exactly. Um, I was expecting something to happen to her as well, but not yet, maybe. But even that moment when everybody looks at the Emperor and he's like, Desmond is ready to strike, basically, and everyone looks at
Mm.
the Emperor as like, what's he gonna do? Thumbs up or thumbs down. And just it was an awesome scene, to be honest.
It
Uh,
was
yeah. So I really,
easily best, I think, like most, at least like thrilling scene of the entire series so far for
hmm,
me, personally speaking.
yeah,
I think
I
it
agree.
was really interesting. I mean, that's the thing. However, you mentioned about the scheming, the crookery,
Yeah.
and that is one thing. However, that there's still something about this show, and I'm struggling to put my
Mm.
finger on it, where it does feel like in some ways that this is CW Dune. Like there is I don't know what it is, and I'm still trying to work it out. I don't know if it's a case where it's just the writing, or well, clearly
Mm.
it must be partly the writing, but whether it's the characters themselves or not. But it doesn't feel as intelligent as or interesting as it should be.
Mm.
Like one thing I noticed is, one thing I noticed specifically in this episode is this idea that it's like every leader of the great houses has their own truth sayer. And
Mm.
like, shouldn't it be very obvious to every leader that every truth sayer is pretty much in this game of crookery? Like it should
But
kind of feel like it should be obvious. Like if I've got a truth sayer who's talking and trying to get me to do certain stuff, and I know that she's helping me play the game, right? So that I can further my position or do what's best for me.
mm.
I then also know that the other truth sayer with the other leader of the great houses are doing, or the other truth sayer that is with another leader of one of the great houses is doing the same, and that they all come from this same sisterhood that is run by Valya. And so for me, like there was a point where I was like, shouldn't you kind of have, if it was me and I'm just the viewer from the
Mm.
outside, right? Like, I would go, there has to be a sense of like, yeah, there's probably the likelihood that these guys are probably doing something amongst themselves. And that if I have a truth sayer, you have one, you have one, you have one, that at some point you got to go, this might be a little bit dodgy. Maybe we should put you on the bench for a little bit. Or maybe there is a sense of like, well, no, we know that they might be up to some crookery. However, I can't risk not having my own because that means someone else might have a leg up, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess they're like weapons, I suppose, where you bring your weapon to a meeting, right? You're not going to use it, or you might not use it, but everybody has one, so everybody feels equally safe and able to attack if necessary, but also able to defend themselves if necessary. So yeah, I think
Because
it's.
to me, it's like if you have a lawyer, right? Let's say,
Mhm.
you have a lawyer and the person you're going up against within court also has a lawyer. But it just so happens to be that all these lawyers are actually relatives and they actually all go for a drink every Friday night, and they all have dinner together, and oh yeah, to actually put things even further, they all happen to go to the same bloody law school. Like it just, and there was a sense of like, but I do understand it, and
Yeah,
I am
I
being a
mean,
bit.
there is a sense that I don't know if people know, but there is a sense that the sisters are following their own agenda, and I think people know that. I think people are very much aware that you don't get a sister to advance your own standing. You'll get a sister to like look after you, maybe, but also like to keep you in check. And she's got her own thing going. And if it fits in with your stuff, then great. But if it doesn't, she'll just do her own thing. Yeah. So I
That's true. Yeah, last thing I wanted to mention, obviously Vorian was mentioned again. Obviously, Nez or Nyez, whatever her name is, speaking to the Atreides kid,
Ynez?
mentioning the fact that Nez, I think it is, mentioning to the fact to the Atreides kid that obviously, that Vorian rejected the throne. Once again, obviously, this is another mention of Vorian. I feel it'll be interesting to see if he either pops up or is mentioned again before we end how they're gonna spin it. But I'm intrigued to see how that manifests. But anything else you want to add finally?
Yeah, this is mainly about like the ending, because that went a little bit more into the interesting but also confusing part, like the two endings, I suppose. Because like there was this whole mystery about the blue eyes, that appear in the worm, and then like the sisters are seeing them. And I'm like, does this look robotic? I'm wondering if this is like going back to like the thinking machines, if this is some
Mm,
big bad or big good, I don't know, coming back or trying to come back. So that would be one of my guesses, I think, because it looked very like robot eyes, like very electronic.
yeah,
Um, the other thing is just the shapeshifter at the end. That was a bit like, what's
yeah.
going on? So I have no idea what to make of this. And it feels a bit like the you need to have read the books to understand some of this,
Yeah, it
and
felt
maybe
very
that.
Dune, like very Dune. Yeah,
Yes. And maybe
yeah,
that's why we're not quite connecting to it as much, because we like just don't know as much about like the Dune lore and stuff. Um, but yeah, I wish maybe it would give us a little bit more sometimes.
mm,
Uh, but yeah, let's see what comes out of that shape-shifting thing. Because again, like, is it a robot? Is it a thing? We've never had shapeshifters before, so
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's correct. I mean, so that will do it. I mean, for us here for our review of episode 4 of the HBO original Dune Prophecy. So let's give this episode our icy review scores out of 10. I'm gonna go first. I'm going high this week. I'm going with 7 ices out of 10. I thought this was the most compelling episode of the entire series. I actually was a bit more interested this week. It has its flaws, but I was finally interested with the meat on the bone, and it was getting a bit juicy, tough in some parts, but nice and rare in others. How about you? How many ices out of 10 will you give this episode?
I'm surprised with a 7, actually. I thought he would go higher because I will. For me, it
Ooh.
was a clear 8 out of 10. I think it was really interesting. I loved some of these scenes again. And like I hinted at the beginning, I think it's because it spent more time on like the court stuff and the houses rather than the sisters, which is the part I don't care about as
Mhm.
much. But like, yeah, I'm there for all the court stuff and like the houses scheming against each other. So yeah, 8 out of 10, man.
Ooh. So you're going with 8 ICs out of 10 for this
Hmm.
episode, and I'm going with 7 ICs out of 10. So that will do it for our review of Dune Prophecy episode 4. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on this episode if you have indeed watched it, or if you're thinking to. If not, I don't know why you watched this video. However, you might as well, even if you haven't seen it
You're
anyway.
allowed to.
Please like, comment, share, subscribe. The full yards to help us out here. Once again, we are No Drama Just Movies. My name is Cameron. If that guy can be Baron, then I can too, Kelly Smith. And I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
I'm Phil, Blue Eyes in the Worm, Corwin.
Oh, that's right. Now remember, boys and girls, if you see a worm, don't drink its juice unless you're thirsty. That's right. We are No Drama Just Movies. Thank you very much for checking out our review today, guys, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.